Imagine a nation that, little more than a decade ago, was plagued by routine blackouts, wrestling with the limits of its aging power grid and the weight of its vast population's energy demands. Now, picture the same country not only lighting up its own bustling cities and rural villages, but also exporting solar panels across oceans to power distant lands. This is India, a country that has orchestrated one of the most ambitious and breathtaking energy transformations of the 21st century. But the question that echoes across the globe is this: can India's solar revolution truly sustain its momentum, light up the lives of over 1,400,000,000 people, and become a beacon for the world's clean energy future? Or will the shadows of daunting challenges threaten to eclipse this dazzling progress? Let's rewind to the early years of the 2010s. In the year 2014, India's installed solar capacity stood at just under 3 gigawatts, an amount so modest it barely registered on the radar of the nation's colossal energy appetite. Back then, coal was king, and fossil fuels dominated the grid, pushing pollution levels to alarming heights in cities like Delhi and Mumbai. The idea that solar power could one day rival coal seemed like a distant dream. Yet, dreams have a way of taking root when vision meets action. Enter the Jawaharlal Nehru National Solar Mission, launched in the year 2010, but truly gathering momentum after 2014. The mission's bold vision: to establish India as a global leader in solar energy. With this, the government unleashed a wave of policies designed to upend the status quo. Guaranteed feed-in tariffs, which promised fixed prices for solar electricity, gave investors confidence. Renewable purchase obligations mandated that utilities source a growing share of their power from renewable sources. New regulatory bodies like the Solar Energy Corporation of India were set up to smooth the path for new projects, acting as a bridge between ambitious government targets and the realities on the ground. This was not just a top-down revolution. Private companies, local entrepreneurs, engineers, and everyday workers became the lifeblood of the movement. In small towns, solar-powered microgrids began delivering reliable electricity where the central grid could not reach. In cities, families started installing rooftop panels, transforming their homes into miniature power plants. The dry, sun-soaked lands of Rajasthan, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, and Karnataka, once considered barren, turned into fields of gleaming photovoltaic panels, stretching as far as the eye could see. One shining example is the Pavagada Solar Park in Karnataka. Just a few years ago, this was a region where cattle grazed parched earth and farmers hoped for good monsoon rains. Today, Pavagada is home to one of the world's largest solar parks, generating over 2 gigawatts of clean, renewable electricity, enough to power millions of homes and businesses. Projects like this have not only changed the skyline, they've changed lives, creating thousands of jobs, attracting billions of dollars in investment, and giving hope to communities long left in the dark. By the year 2025, India's solar capacity is set to reach 100 gigawatts, a staggering increase of more than 3,400% from the levels of 2014. To put that growth into perspective, India is now adding more solar capacity each year than it had in total just a decade ago. As Prahlad Joshi, India's Union Minister for New and Renewable Energy, remarked, initiatives like solar panels, solar parks, and rooftop solar projects have brought about revolutionary changes. The scale and speed of this transformation are almost without parallel in modern energy history. From less than 3 gigawatts in 2014 to 100 gigawatts projected in 2025, India's solar sector has grown faster than almost any other major nations. Billions upon billions of dollars have flowed into the sector from local investors and international giants alike. The result? Hundreds of thousands of new jobs, from high-tech engineers designing next-generation panels to construction workers assembling them under the blazing sun. But the impact of India's solar surge goes far beyond economics. For the first time, millions of children in remote villages can study by electric light after sunset. Health clinics in the countryside can refrigerate life-saving vaccines and run diagnostic equipment. Farmers, who once depended on diesel generators, can power irrigation pumps with free, abundant sunlight. Even urban dwellers have seen benefits. Rooftop panels are now common in cities, slashing electricity bills and cutting air pollution. Airports, shopping malls, schools, and technology parks are increasingly powered by their own solar arrays, reducing dependence on an often unreliable grid and shrinking their carbon footprints. Large corporations, including some of the world's biggest tech and manufacturing firms, are committing to sourcing most or all of their electricity from renewables, a feat made possible by India's increasingly robust solar infrastructure. As the world grapples with the urgent need to curb greenhouse gas emissions, India's progress has not gone unnoticed. The country is now a founding member of the International Solar Alliance, an organization that brings together over 100 countries to promote solar adoption, share technology, and finance projects in the developing world. Through this platform, India is exporting not just panels, but know-how and policy models, helping nations from Africa to Latin America chart their own renewable journeys. Yet, as every pioneer knows, rapid progress brings new challenges. For all its impressive gains, India's solar revolution faces major hurdles that could slow or even stall its momentum if left unaddressed. First, there is the issue of reliability. The sun, as we all know, does not shine around the clock. While solar power can flood the grid during the day, demand often peaks in the early evening, just as the sun is setting. Advanced batteries and energy storage solutions are needed to smooth out these fluctuations. But the technology remains expensive and is not yet deployed at the scale India requires. Without massive investment in storage, there is a risk that solar could fall short during critical hours, forcing reliance on fossil fuels to fill the gap. Sonia Dunlop of the Global Solar Council warns, tripling global renewable capacity will require over 1 terawatt of solar every year through 2030. For India to stay on track, it must double down on both deployment and innovation. Second, the question of economic and trade risks looms large. In the early years of the boom, India relied on imports for more than 90% of its solar panels, with most coming from China. This left the sector vulnerable to price shocks, trade disputes, and supply chain disruptions. Recognizing the risk, the government has launched bold policies to promote domestic manufacturing, including the Production-Linked Incentive Scheme, allocating over 240 billion rupees to support local factories building high-efficiency panels and components. As a result, dependence on imports has dropped to about 56% by the year 2024, and the nation's manufacturing capacity has soared, nearly doubling in just 12 months. Yet the global solar market remains volatile, and any disruption, whether from geopolitics or economic shocks, could threaten the delicate balance between affordability and self-reliance. Third, there is the perennial challenge of land. India is a crowded country, with hundreds of millions of people relying on every square kilometer for farming, housing, and industry. Large-scale solar parks require vast tracts of land, which can lead to conflicts with local communities, environmental concerns, and bureaucratic delays. The government has authorized 50 major solar parks across 12 states, targeting a total capacity of nearly 38 gigawatts, but each new project must navigate a complex web of land rights, compensation disputes, and local politics. Fourth, access remains uneven. While urban centers and well-connected villages are racing ahead, many rural areas, especially in the northeast and mountainous regions, still lack reliable connections to the solar-powered grid. Microgrid projects and off-grid solutions are helping bridge the gap, but the challenge of universal access remains formidable. Can India ensure that the benefits of clean energy reach every corner of its vast, diverse population? Finally, integrating massive amounts of solar power into the existing grid is a technical and logistical feat. The grid must be upgraded and modernized, with smart meters, digital controls, and advanced forecasting to handle the variable supply from renewables. Without these upgrades, bottlenecks and outages could undermine the reliability of the entire system. Despite these hurdles, India's ambitions continue to soar. The government's current target is to reach 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel energy by the year 2030, with solar expected to be the backbone of this new energy system. To get there, India will need to sustain its breakneck pace of deployment, double its renewable additions by the end of the decade, and leapfrog into new technologies like advanced battery storage, pumped hydro, and green hydrogen. The consequences of success or failure are enormous, not just for India, but for the world. If India can meet its goals, it will help anchor global efforts to limit climate change, catalyze trillions of dollars in investment, and create millions of new jobs. If it stumbles, the entire global clean energy transition could be thrown off course. Let's consider some of the extraordinary impacts already visible on the ground. In the sun-baked villages of Rajasthan, solar microgrids are powering sewing machines, water purification plants, and even small cold storages for produce. In the state of Uttar Pradesh, the PM-KUSUM scheme aims to add over 30 gigawatts of solar power by March of 2026, focusing on providing affordable energy for agriculture. Farmers who once relied on expensive and polluting diesel pumps can now irrigate their fields with solar-powered water pumps, boosting crop yields and reducing costs. In the heart of Mumbai, gleaming office towers are adorned with solar panels, while airports from Delhi to Hyderabad have committed to running entirely on clean energy. Hospitals, schools, and government buildings are following suit, setting an example for other sectors. Even India's famed railway network, the world's fourth largest, is exploring solar installations along tracks and at stations to reduce its enormous energy bill. This solar revolution is also reshaping India's economy. The sector has created hundreds of thousands of jobs, from manufacturing and installation to research and maintenance. For young engineers and entrepreneurs, the solar industry offers a new frontier of opportunity. Whether designing next-generation photovoltaic cells, developing software for smart grids, or launching startups focused on battery storage and energy efficiency. On the international stage, India is rapidly emerging as a solar superpower. Between 2022 and 2024, India's solar exports multiplied more than 20 times, with the vast majority of panels heading to the United States. This is a stunning reversal for a country that just a decade ago imported almost all its solar technology. As India's domestic manufacturing base strengthens, it is poised not only to supply its own booming market, but also to become a critical player in global supply chains. Yet the road ahead is not without obstacles. Land acquisition, as mentioned, can be a political minefield, especially in densely populated states where every hectare is precious. Integrating huge amounts of intermittent solar power into the grid requires high-tech solutions. Think smart grids, cutting-edge batteries, and even emerging technologies like green hydrogen, which can store excess solar energy for use when the sun is not shining. Trade tensions and economic shocks can suddenly disrupt supplies or financing. For instance, when imports from China fell from over 90% to just above 50% in 2 years, the resilience of India's local manufacturing was put to the test. While policies like the approved list of models and manufacturers help ensure quality and reliability, the industry must constantly adapt to shifting global dynamics. If India can double its renewables deployment by 2030, as experts from the International Energy Agency and Global Energy Monitor suggest, it will not only meet its ambitious climate targets, but also secure long-term energy independence. This would mean cleaner air in cities, greater resilience against global oil and gas price shocks, and a stronger foundation for economic growth. If not, progress could stall, leaving millions without reliable power and causing India to miss out on a once-in-a-generation opportunity. For ordinary Indians, the changes are already palpable. In remote communities, solar-powered microgrids are lighting up homes, powering sewing machines, and enabling new businesses to flourish. In urban neighborhoods, rooftop systems are making electricity more affordable, turning consumers into producers, and cutting pollution. For the nation's youth, the solar boom offers a new world of careers and purpose. As Mohan Gupta of Solar Quarter notes, important policies such as the production-linked incentive scheme and the approved list of models and manufacturers have helped maintain quality and reliability in the solar sector. So what lessons does India's solar journey offer to the rest of the world? First, that ambitious targets are only effective when paired with clear, consistent policies and public-private partnerships. Second, scaling up renewables is as much about finance, logistics, and local engagement as it is about technology. Third, no challenge is insurmountable when government, business, and communities work together toward a shared vision. Looking ahead, the next phase of India's solar story is just beginning. By the year 2030, the country aims for 500 gigawatts of non-fossil fuel capacity, with solar at its heart. Innovations in battery storage, digital grids, and green hydrogen are on the horizon, promising to make solar even more reliable and flexible. But risks remain. Falling behind on innovation, failing to resolve grid bottlenecks, or letting trade and political disputes disrupt progress could threaten hard-won gains. Yet the opportunity is even greater. Success could lift millions out of energy poverty, unleash a new wave of economic growth, and make India a cornerstone of global climate action. And as we've seen, India is not just lighting its own homes. Solar exports are powering cities and industries across the world. As a fascinating fact, consider this. India's solar exports, once almost non-existent, multiplied more than 20-fold between 2022 and 2024, with more than 90% destined for the United States. A decade ago, such a scenario seemed unimaginable. So can India sustain its solar momentum and build a truly resilient, inclusive, clean energy future? The answer, for now, is a resounding yes. But only if it keeps pushing boundaries, investing in technology, and learning from each new challenge. The story of India's solar revolution is far from over. It is a living experiment, watched by governments and companies around the world. Its outcome will help shape the global energy landscape for generations to come. If you found this story inspiring or learned something new, hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments. What country or technology should we spotlight next? And don't forget to subscribe for more in-depth stories on global economics and